of 70 pounds of fat weight in just 5 months, thanks to help from my friends at SOTA Weight Loss. It was simple, straightforward, no injections, no drugs, and no crazy exercises. SOTA clients like me lose our weight naturally, and we keep it off because they equip us with the tools we need to live a healthy, happy life. And get this is an amazing deal right now this month. Get 2 transformations for the price of 1 with SOTA's buy one, get one during the month of December. Lose weight together. It's the best way to do it. Make it a team effort. Start your 2025 off right with a partner. Double the results, half the cost. They've never made this offer before, and you only have a limited time to take advantage of it. It's so much easier when you're not alone. So go to sotaweightloss.com to get started now. That's SOTAweightloss.com, because SOTA Weight Loss is, say it with me, state of the art.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair. Save on every gallon with the DinoPay app. Here's Ricky Meese.
No delays, but we do have this accident westbound I-80 near Saltaire prior to the SR 202 junction with all vehicles to the left or right shoulders. Teens can get up to $200 with a Teen Learn and Earn account, plus continue earning rewards as they master the essentials of finance. More at cypresscu.com/teen. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We have sunshine this afternoon, clouds clearing up, and then high pressure starts moving in tomorrow with more sunshine and temperatures near 50 Thursday and Friday. Right now, partly cloudy, 50 degrees. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Good afternoon. Drama in Congress today. Maybe because Adam was there last week. I don't know. We're going to get into that. Also still waiting for the government to fund itself past this Friday. Welcome to Inside Sources. I'm your host today, Leah Murray. I am KSL's resident political science professor from up at Weber State University. And I'm here with my very good friend, Adam Gardner, who is, what are you, the CEO, the founder, the guru?
All of the things.
All of the things.
When you have no employees, you are all of the. I'm the janitor.
I love this.
The
The
CEO,
plumber.
everything.
You are facilities
Yes.
management. Anytime the computer doesn't work, you come in and turn it on and
Yes.
turn it up. At ASG Consulting, Adam is one of my favorite people to talk politics with because I feel like we disagree on a lot of things, but we disagree.
Better.
How does the governor
Just
say?
kidding.
Yeah,
We
better
disagree
not. I
better.
think we get feisty, but always with respect and love. All right, so let's have a conversation about drama in Congress. And as someone who has taught Congress, does that make sense? And have read a lot of scholarship about Congress, I've never actually worked there. You have. So I'm wondering
I
if
have,
you can
but I refuse to read about it.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so we come
we're the
at
opposite.
totally different angles. I want your insight as to what you think is happening. Okay, so let's do two drama. So we have got a Republican House member, Victoria Spartz. Until today, I had never heard her name, so a little bit my feeling is she's doing this to get maybe famous, but she's a Republican from Indiana saying that she will stay as a registered Republican, Adam, but will not sit on committees or participate in the caucus until she sees that Republican leadership in Congress is governing. because she doesn't need to be involved in circuses. So tell me, like, first of all.
Good heavens.
Okay, go.
My gosh. So first of all, you neuter yourself right when you come in to office. And so the House of Representatives is a team sport. You are a team. I was watching the 49ers lose again.
I know. I'm really sorry
last
for
week,
you.
My team, and they had a player who had been starting the whole season, and Dre Greenlaw comes back from an injury, and now he's starting. And then he gets injured again during the game, and so they want their guy to go back in. He's dressed. He's ready to go. And then he just walks off and says, I don't want to play today, and leaves. And you left your team hanging. And yes, they're on the same team. Yes, they have the same values. Yes, they all want to win, but he's not proving it. And for me, I feel like that's what Representative Spartz is doing here. I'm not going to caucus with them. I'm not going to meet with them. So they have to be serious about governing. Well, they're in the meetings deciding how to govern and what the best strategy is, and you're sitting out on the sidelines, and when we need you, you won't come in and play. And I think that is the height of hypocrisy. I think it is completely selfish. It doesn't matter which party you belong to. I'm not saying this is a Republican. If you're not going to help your side, what is the flipping point? The Senate, it's a lot different. You need 60 votes to do anything. You need 9 or 10 from the other party to get anything accomplished. So you're always working across the aisle and trying to forge good relationships and sponsoring with the other party. This is insane to me. So she says, I will stay as a registered Republican, but I'm not going to sit on committees or participate in the caucus. The committee structure is all you have. And she's saying that I'm going to help with Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, and I'm going to be a member of that caucus, which Blake Moore from the Utah's 1st District is the vice chair. To me, without the scholarship part that you bring to the table, I'm just saying just as someone who has worked there or seen it or has any common sense whatsoever, this just seems like a horrible play.
Yeah, I mean, I love your metaphor that it's a team sport, right? Like, I think, especially in the House of Representatives, right? This is, and especially with the margin that they have, right? Like, the Republicans do not have a lot of votes that they can spare on anything that they are doing. This is exactly like someone walking off the field and not playing the game. Thank you. That was like an excellent metaphor for that, Adam. I appreciate it. But the top of the segment, what I said was, doesn't it feel like the Republican Party has a few people whose goal it is, I'm thinking Matt Gaetz a little bit, whose goal it was to mess everything up, but mostly to become famous.
Yeah.
So like here she is on X, and she's like dropping Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk because she's going to work with them who are famous. And a little bit, I think, instead of governing, instead of trying to play, what she's doing is getting her, in your metaphor, like ESPN gig, right?
Yeah.
Like, so what she's trying to do is not actually play the game well, but to set up her next, you know what I mean? Her next gig.
I feel like the people, if you know, I say this all the time, if you know a congresswoman's name who doesn't live in your home state very well and see them often, they're probably not the hardest workers in Congress. One of the most powerful Republicans in Congress is Jason Smith. He's the head of the Ways and Means Committee. You've never heard his name, and I barely know who he is, except I attended an event where he was speaking. I had no idea who this guy was. The chairman of the Appropriations Committees. But what you know is House Government and Oversight. You know Marjorie Taylor Greene. You know AOC. You know the Squad. You know Jamal Brown. Like, those are the names you know on the left, and the right has their Matt Gaetz, their Representative Luna, Nancy Mace. Those are all the representatives that are not getting anything done. But they're the culture warriors. And guess what? It works because their constituents love it. And when I worked for Congressman Bishop years ago, and we would go to town halls, he was always meeting with his constituents. And then the constituents would say, how can we never see you fighting? And he said, I fight every day. I'm the chairman of the committee. I'm getting stuff done for Utah. I've helped with the F-35 program here at Hill Air Force Base. They say, but we don't see you on Fox News.
Right. He's like, I'm not on Meet the Press.
And he's like, yeah,
right.
That's not how you fight. And nobody respects that in D.C. that actually passes a bill. John Curtis has passed over 20 bills in his time in Congress. Do you see him on Fox News all the time? Do you see him on MSNBC, CNN? No, because he just gets the work done.
Yeah, no, I think that's interesting. And you did bring up a name. So the other drama in Congress today, Adam, and I don't know if you've been tracking this, is Democrats are kind of changing the way they pick their leadership. So I always taught them as really into seniority. So if you've been there the longest, you get to be the chair. And a little bit last week, we saw some generational fighting, younger members of the caucus really kind of challenging older members for ranking committee positions, right? So you mentioned Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and she tried to bounce Jerry Connolly. She is I think 40 years younger than he is, Adam, right? So this is definitely a demographic
she's 34.
shift.
Or no, she's older than that. We saw their ages she's a lot younger than him. He's a 74, I think.
Yeah, but so the steering committee recommended him, Jerry Connolly, and then she went after it in caucus. So tell me, and I did not leave enough time for this conversation. I do apologize, but she went after it in caucus, but the caucus still went for Connolly. Is that kind of par for the course, or does that feel like it could be some drama for Democrats coming down the
It's
pike?
definitely going to be some drama. You're going to have all the younger members, and she's 35 and Connolly's 74, so it's a big age gap there. It's really interesting that she even accepted the fact, she went to the full caucus after the steering committee said, no, you're not our guy.
Right,
It's
to
gonna
the
be
fact
somebody
that she
else.
didn't accept
And
steering.
she said, fine, I'm going to go to
Yeah.
the caucus. That's happened before, and the caucus has overturned what the steering committee has wanted to do before.
Yeah.
This time they chose not to, and it's really a battle of the millennials versus the old guard, and I don't think the old guard's ready to go yet, but they have the numbers.
Yeah. All right. So I want to stay with this theme of drama in Congress after the break. Let's have a conversation about the continuing oh my gosh, I just lost the word.
Continuing resolution.
Thank you, resolution, for funding the federal government. Stay with us.
The KSL News Radio app will update you on breaking stories.
A house explosion this afternoon.
And you'll get exclusive audio streams from local events, breaking news, and sports.
Cougars feel like they can overcome anything.
All of your favorite KSL hosts are there too, so you can listen anytime. Plus traffic and weather. Download it today. The app for KSL News Radio.
The holiday season is upon us, and sometimes when I start talking about Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, I talk about all of the wonderful things we do around it, like skiing and going to concerts and movies and holiday shopping. I want to spend a little time talking about the amazing food that awaits you at Ruth's Chris. First of all, when you walk through the doors, either in Park City or downtown, the way you're treated, the way the waitstaff takes care of you, the presentation of the food, it is simply remarkable, and the taste is out of this world. I savor, I wait for, I anticipate that very first bite of my steak at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And of course, I always talk about the steaks, but the other entrees are delicious as well, whether it's seafood or poultry. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse is beyond compare. And for heaven's sake, save room for dessert. The best dining experience, it's awaiting you at Ruth's Chris.
In 2024, dating is a disaster. We've been ghosted, breadcrumbed, stuck in situationships. Hi, I'm Debbie. I'm Caitlin. Welcome to our new podcast, Dating at Her Age. Dating has been so dicey for us, we asked KSL, can we launch an all-new podcast about it?
People use these dating apps. You're not really dating when you're on the dating app.
Dating at Her Age, brought to you by Mountain Home Services. A new episode drops every Thursday on KSLNewsRadio.com.
This holiday season, give the gift of joy with Mrs. Kavanaugh's chocolates. Imagine the delight on your loved ones' faces as they unwrap a box of their handcrafted gourmet chocolates. From creamy caramels to chocolate-covered treats, each piece is made with love and the finest ingredients. Family owned for over 60 years, Mrs. Kavanaugh's offers a tradition of quality and care. Whether it's their famous chocolate-covered nuts or their decadent fudge, Mrs. Kavanaugh's has something to make every holiday moment sweeter. Find the perfect gifts this year for your family, friends, and employees at MrsKavanaughs.com or visit their retail store to explore their holiday specials and delicious corporate gifts. Order now and make the season unforgettable with the magic of Mrs. Kavanaugh's chocolates, where every bite is a memory. Share the sweetness. This Friday from 10 to 1, the movie show comes to Sound Sleep Medical. But first, Take the time to learn about a better night's rest. Sound Sleep Medical delivers oral appliance therapy that treats sleep apnea without the use of CPAP machines. They're professionally fit, warranted, and covered by most major medical insurance. End the days of a poor night's sleep. Sound Sleep Medical will help. Call Sound Sleep Medical at 801-716-8672 for details. Sound Sleep Medical.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other, so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals, and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
What other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, it sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Granite School District trying to address a big data breach involving both current and former students. Second, students in one Utah school district now have access to a computer tutor 24 hours a day. And third, Vice President Harris told a group of young people in Maryland today the nation has to address its ongoing plague of gun violence. 50 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
This morning, an article on Punchbowl News started with this. Remember when congressional leaders said the CR, or continuing resolution, would be out by now? Us too. It's another week and another fight, another fight in Congress over funding the government. And we're on the government shutdown watch again. I think it's interesting. Adam Gardner here with Leah Murray. We've had this conversation a number of times back on KSL at night and a few times since we've been on Inside Sources. And it seems we're having the same discussions. This is deja vu all over again.
So pause real quick, because you did work in Congress. How many government shutdowns while you were working there did you deal with?
So we started Congress with a government shutdown. So when I came into my role as state director for Mitt Romney, we were setting up his office, but we had no government spending authorized. And so Senator Romney took office with there was very little staff, but even just mundane things through the General Services Administration, which does your building and your phones and everything.
Right.
We had a huge leak in our ceiling, and we had to get emergency funds authorized to fix this roof leak. It took forever because no employees were there. And so that lasted about 3 months. And I remember so instead of doing our big things that we had planned for the first little bit of the session and having all these town halls about different issues all over the state, Senator Romney had to go to Ogden and did a big town hall in Ogden because there's so many IRS employees. And we went to Davis County and Farmington. We had 350 people there, a lot of folks and contractors that worked at Hill Air Force Base that were affected by the shutdown. So it was really interesting to see how that plays out. And Congress is supposed to pass 12 individual appropriations bills. They all have to start in the House. And that makes up your budget. So when we hear the term budget, that's 12, those 12 omnibus bills. When we hear the term continuing resolution, we're just taking whatever the money allocated was and just rolling that over for a certain number. We're extending it.
Right, okay.
That's it. So it doesn't come with any new funding. It doesn't come with any new priorities. It's really bad for government to plan. When you do CRs, it actually is more expensive because you tell the military you're not allowed to plan. You can't. Those that are going on active duty, we only have funding for X amount, and so you have to spend a lot more money up front really quickly because you can't space it out and plan. That's not a good way to govern.
I think it's not a good way to live without a budget,
Not a good
right?
way to live.
Let's be really clear. I mean, I think it's interesting, too. I wanted to ask you about this. Today is Tuesday. We are going to try to vote on Thursday, but I feel like Republicans have a rule in the House for 72 hours of looking at the legislation.
It's true. The only way to get around that would be to suspend the rules, which you can do.
Right. So the answer like today is, how do I say, it's kind of like a student coming to the end of a semester. That paper's not written, right?
Yeah.
There's no legislative text. They're not able to look at it. What are the odds that they're voting Thursday? I think
right now it looks slim. If the speaker's saying that, though, I assume he's knowing when it's going to happen, like if he has the votes or if he has the time or if the text is just about ready to go.
Pause right there. So do you think he doesn't have the votes and that's why there's a delay?
I
Right,
don't know. That's
okay.
a really good question. It could be. There's also some interesting things, like some minor things that they're just trying to tweak and work out that aren't necessarily budgetary. Like Washington, D.C. is completely controlled by the federal budget. So there's a Washington, D.C. oversight. So even though they're their own little city state, they can't control their own budget. Everything is done through Congress. So negotiations over a government spending bill, they've stalled, and due to a couple of disputes, and a lot of those have to do with the Francis Scott Key Bridge that collapsed in Baltimore. So they're trying to figure that out.
Or like disaster spending.
Disaster
right?
spending. So there, and then other disaster relief for Florida and South Carolina, other things, and then actually moving RFK Stadium. Super important things with the NFL because they need a new stadium. It's a crappy stadium, but DC can't do anything on their own, so that has to be negotiated through Congress, and they're working with the NFL and with the city and with Baltimore. So you have all these things that play into it. So we just mentioned how it's just a continuation, except for all the extra stuff they're going to add.
Do you think the fact we talked about in the last segment, some people refusing to caucus and like leadership fights happening in the Democratic Party, do you think it's also they are, how do I say, in D.C., thinking about the next term? Right, a little bit. They're like, who's going to be Trump's nominees? Like, who's going to be ranking members and committee chairs? Does that lack of focus on the continuing resolution, could that be part of the drama as well?
I think so. You and I had talked about. You had mentioned during the break. You said, Mike Johnson has to lead. Like, we're expecting him to lead, and he told his members he wasn't going to do these omnibus bills, and we've seen omnibus bills, and you're absolutely right. And the argument that he has to make as Speaker of the House is he has to go to his members, and he has to say, look, if we do this continuing resolution right now, while we have Democrats in control of the Senate and the White House, let's just bite this bullet and wait a couple of months. We'll come back here in the spring. They're going to be working through January, February, working on those 12 appropriations bills. But wouldn't you rather do it when we had the 100 days, the president's first 100 days, get a real conservative budget, 12 real conservative appropriations bills, and then we have a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and then we have a Republican in the White House? The problem is you've mentioned his margin for error is very small. All it takes is some of these Freedom Caucus guys or one or two others that just say, you know what, we're not really comfortable with spending money on the Francis Scott Key Bridge. I don't think that that's the role of government, and you've lost your caucus. So the only other option is you have to keep your caucus completely together, or you have to sacrifice some of your more right-leaning members and then go get some Democrats to make up the difference.
So what do you think is the path forward? Like, will we have, and then also political ramifications of it. If there is a government shutdown heading into the holidays, and that's also what I'm thinking. I'm feeling like all of the families.
That sounds like a very Merry Christmas.
Right, but all the families of these Congress people are like, are you coming home this weekend? Like, what is happening? So you're heading into the holidays. I also don't think it sets up, well, like Donald Trump's inauguration super well. And then I just paused and thought, well, who's going to put
Do they have have an inauguration?
Yeah, will you build that little platform for him to make a speech on if no one is there working, given what you talked about, what happened in 2018? So a little bit it's like, what are the political consequences if they cannot get this done? Because it's not just the House. They've got to pass something, and then the Senate's got to say yes.
So the Senate, my guess is they've already got their stuff together. So they'll have the votes ready to go when the House is ready to pass it. The Senate, I think, we'll see them pass the CR right after the House passes it. So I think within a couple of hours of each other. So all the onus is right now on the House of Representatives to see what they do. If we get further into the weeds a little bit, when we talk about like the actual inauguration and the platforms and everything, I was just out in D.C. last week. They're built. So that money has been appropriated and spent, and they've been building those for the last couple of months.
Does government shut down? Because you and I were talking off the air about people having tickets and maybe going to the inauguration. But, like, I'm also thinking, like, security. Will there be security? Does that make sense?
So
like if you
the
couldn't even
security
paint your
would
office.
be. I don't actually know if they would have the actual inauguration at the Capitol, like if there's enough people.
Right.
But a lot of the inaugurational festivities are paid for with private funds. And so nothing would prohibit them from working. All of the Secret Service, the security, they are deemed as essential employees, so they'll be there. They just won't be getting paid. So they'll get paid after the shutdown is over. And that's why shutdowns are so expensive.
Yeah.
You don't actually save any money. They pay the employees who don't work. So after the shutdown is over, they're not required to, but they always have. So everybody gets a check for having been off for 2 or 3 weeks. Not a good process, not a good way to handle anything, and so we're going to see how that goes. If you've been following us for a while, you know that we like to stay up to date, and we love our listeners to stay up to date as Congress tries to avoid a government shutdown. Go on to KSL and sign up to our 3 Things newsletter. Each day, you'll get an email with the top 3 things you need to know as you go about your day. That's national, international, and local news. It's super easy to get started. Just text inbox to 57500. Speaking of local news, when Inside Sources returns, we're going to chat with a few state legislators about the bills they're planning to run during the 2025 legislative general session, which is coming up next month. And which is terrifying for me. And that's
Are you ready? Have you done your homework?
I'm not ready. I'm excited to talk to some of these legislators so I can figure out what they're running and see how we can help. That's coming up after the break. Stay with us.
It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. We have breaking news out of New York City. The man accused of killing the CEO of United Healthcare has now been indicted on murder charges. CNN reports a grand jury handed up that indictment today. Mangione still being held without bail in Pennsylvania, awaiting extradition to New York. City crews in Huntsville are hopeful they can get their town's water system working again in short order. They're digging up the parking lot at the water treatment plant, hoping they've found the leak that drained the city's water tank. Could be several days, though, before the water there is safe to drink again. Students in the Iron County School District will have access to tutors now 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The Varsity Tutor for Schools program starts in the new year. District spokesperson Shauna Lund says the computer system fills the gap for students who don't always have access to teachers.
The students can access it through the program and get help with, an assignment they might be struggling with or a concept they might be struggling with as they're going through their classes.
The program's also available to parents and teachers. The district is paying nothing for the basic part of the platform. We'll assess its value later to determine whether it should be continued. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average is down now 358 points on the day, while the NASDAQ is down by 106. And our KSL weather, looks like we've got sunshine this afternoon, and we'll see more later this week. That's next. KSL News Time, 1:31.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code SECONDFREE by January 26th. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The temperatures outside have dropped a bunch, and now my family and I are enjoying the benefits of our brand new windows from Advanced Window Products in a different way. During the summer, it was nice to be able to keep the cold air in. Now it's nice to see how much more efficiently we can keep warm air inside. We replaced 20 of our builder-grade windows with high-efficiency windows and a glass door to our backyard with a built-in pet door, and we have just been thrilled with the results. We're already saving on our energy bill. We're helping pay for the windows with the rebate available through Dominion Energy. Our price didn't include any middleman markups because they did the sales and the installation all in-house. My wife and I love that there's a lifetime warranty serviced by their local team, labor, glass, parts included. I promise they're going to treat you right, and you'll have an amazing experience from start to finish, just like I did. Right now is a great time to do it. Also, they're having an end-of-season sale. Save $2,500 on 10 windows or more. 801-850-9100 or advancedwindows.com.
Welcome to Staples.
Help! My family's in for the holidays and I need gift ideas.
That's why we're here. Staples has amazing deals on everything you need. Photo gifts, laptops, and gaming systems. Even custom holiday cards and shipping solutions to send gifts to the family that can't make it.
Perfect! Have anything for Uncle Frank? I love him, but the guy is never quiet.
Noise-canceling headphones. For you.
You get it.
Unwrap huge holiday savings at Staples. And right now at Staples, save up to $350 on select computers. Ends 12/28, in-store only.
Here's another great reason to use the United States Postal Service this season. When sending a package, why venture outside? Ship with USPS for a true holiday ride. Want to stay cozy and warm? There's no need to roam. With free package pickup and labels printed from home. We have over 600,000 employees always in motion. And before you know it, your gift has delivered emotion. Spread the holiday joy this season with USPS's enhanced network. Learn more at USPS.com/holidayride.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair. Save on every gallon with the DinoPay app. Here's Ricky Meese.
We still have crews in Weber County working on this pothole repair work. This is westbound I-84 in Riverdale, approaching the I-15 junction, and a crash being cleared by Salt Lake City PD 2200 west at 1600 north. Keep that big event energy big. Take UTA and skip the parking lot. Plan your trip at rideuta.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We have some sunshine this afternoon. The clouds clearing out. High pressure moves in tomorrow with more sunshine and temperatures. It'll get close to 50 Thursday and Friday, and we're at 51 degrees right now with partly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
And welcome back to Inside Sources. Now, Adam, we've talked about this on the show a number of times and back in the earlier version of us on KSL at night, and that housing in Utah is really unaffordable, right? Like, hard for people to purchase a house. I'm thinking my daughter is 17. She's looking at colleges, and Adam, she's trying to get away, right? She's going to head to some other state. And I don't know that she'll ever come back because legit, she could probably buy a house, you know what I mean, for a lot cheaper in the states that she is looking to move to for college. So that is something we got to think about. Our young people can't afford to stay here. They have to move out of state to be able to live the American dream. In the upcoming session, we're going to see some bills, I imagine, addressing this.
Yeah, we're gonna see a lot of them. In fact, I went to an event with Governor Cox was speaking this morning, and he was talking about housing affordability and how our housing has nearly doubled in price over the last 6 or 7 years. And he said a line that he's said a couple of times. It's really stuck with me. He said, "We want our kids to live near us, not with us." And
oh my gosh, I like that
and
line.
he said,
Yeah.
and that's happening more and more, and that's something we have to fix. And we have Representative Ray Ward from Bountiful, Republican from Bountiful, Utah House of Representatives, who's got some ideas of some solutions to address housing affordability. Representative Ward, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. So how are you going to help these empty nesters have their kids live near them but not with them?
Make them become an empty nester.
Yeah.
Help them become an empty nester.
Yeah. So I feel like what we've done in the state is just say this is a really difficult problem. And so what we need are more complicated sessions of planning. And let's just make more and more and more plans and reports on the plans. And I just don't think that has helped or will help. We just need to make it easier and more straightforward to be allowed to build smaller homes and to be allowed to build them on smaller lots. It's really that simple. But that requires just saying, look, in these places, it's going to be allowed. So I do have a couple of bills that I'm going to bring up. They're not hard to understand. One of the bills just says, in an area where you have single-family homes that are there, where there's a homeowner on site, that homeowner is allowed to build a single accessory dwelling unit. So it's like a mother-in-law apartment.
Oh, sure.
So that could be internal to their home. It could be what used to be a garage, but now they turn it into a little place for someone to live. So, yeah.
So they could rent it out. They could make money, but it would also be somewhat affordable for either a neighbor, a kid, a mother, an actual mother-in-law, or just someone they choose to rent it to.
Yeah, any reason or no reason. I mean, there's cities sometimes you're like, well, you can build one, but only for your family. It's not. I mean, every one that's built is an extra unit of housing. And overall, I believe in supply and demand. If we let the supply be bigger, prices will just come down without the state having to subsidize anything. So that's one way to do it. And what you just said, Adam, is exactly right. Those units almost always get rented for less than market rate for different reasons. Might be it was a family member. Might be it was someone you just really felt sorry for and tried to help them. Might be someone who you couldn't get around anymore, and so you actually cut their rate because you also agreed that they were going to shovel your driveway and help you with your groceries because you couldn't get around. All kinds of reasons. But those units, it's an extra unit of housing that usually, with no subsidy, goes for less than market rate.
All right, Representative Ward, you said you had two bills. What was the other one doing?
Yeah, they're all doing the same thing of saying we got to allow more housing, we got to allow smaller housing, we got to allow housing on smaller lots. It's just that simple. If we do that, the average price will come down. The other one has two ideas in it, and it says in zones that are in areas of the city that are zoned commercial. So this is not a person's special neighborhood where they were promised 20-foot setbacks and no medium income people, only rich people there. But it's a commercial zone, housing also is an allowed use. So we should be able to come in and say, look, you want some commercial there too, build the commercial. But if housing wants to be built there, someone's willing to pay for housing there, then let's just let them build it. And another one that says in areas where we're just building in, we've decided this is going to be a residential zone here, we need to allow smaller lots down to 4,000 square feet on a lot.
So one thing that that's really interesting to me, I live in West Jordan. I love West Jordan, and I live way out in West Jordan because I feel like if I say West Jordan, people have 5 ideas of what that actually means. West Jordan is a huge city. If you drive from the Temple, downtown Salt Lake, all the way to the Mountain America Expo Center, that's a long way to drive north to south. And if you flip that on its side, that's the city of West Jordan. It's huge. So we have a lot of room out west to build. But what's interesting and what I think is kind of cool about your bill is it's a huge investment to build out west. All the vacant space we have, they need upgraded sewer. They need upgraded water tanks. Like the amount of money and infrastructure it takes to build out there is crazy expensive. So what your bill is doing is it's actually incentivizing or allowing people to build on their own property. But what's kind of cool about that is it doesn't build everything in one spot. It spreads it out over the city.
Yep.
And then they won't actually have to. The city doesn't have to spend any more money building infrastructure like sewer or roads or anything. Everything that was put in was for these families that had 5 and 6 kids who no longer live in these older houses anymore, and they have these big yards. And so there's plenty of room with no extra strain on the system. How is that being received by stakeholders?
In general, the cities preferred policy, and this is very important to most of them, is just that they get to make all the decisions, full stop. And so when you come in and suggest anything to say, no, this is just going to be allowed because the state as a whole needs it, then that's not received friendly by the organization of cities. But when you talk to individual city council members and individual people, person after person after person knows their own family or someone else who would have benefited and then got told no, that they couldn't do that thing that would benefit themselves plus someone else. So people know that it's needed.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Right there, I think Adam was asking a question that was in my head too. In just a minute left, Representative, I do apologize. But it's about I had a question about zoning, right? It sounds like what you're saying is if it's a commercial zone, can we make it a little residential? And how can the state legislature tell cities? Does that make sense? How to manage those decisions? Yeah, go ahead.
The state already does. There was one that was passed several years ago that said, cities, you cannot require that houses be larger. If they're larger than 1,000 square feet, you have to allow that size of house. There were some places previously that said, no, in this zone, it has to be bigger than 2,000 square feet. We already have a state law that says you cannot do that if it's bigger than 1,000 square feet. There's federal laws that allow it. The state clearly can allow it, and other states do as well. States with cheaper housing allow broader building.
Okay, so what are the chances of this bill passing? Are there similar bills from other representatives that you're going to join forces with? Is this kind of on its own? Is this a part of what the House and the Senate are trying to do? How's that? Tell us some of the inside baseball of what's happening on the Hill.
Senator Lincoln Fillmore will be my Senate sponsor of the bill, and he's very supportive of this idea. This is not there's some housing committees that we have that make consensus bills, and this is not one of those because it's not consensus, because the cities don't like the idea of doing this, at least so far, but I hope to persuade people. So to me, this idea is so important that it just needs to be run and talked about, because I don't think things will get better until we do something of this nature.
All right, Representative Ray Ward, Utah House of Representatives, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon.
Thanks so much for having me.
Adam, let's shift some gears, stay with the legislature, but let's look at drinking water in the state. Another bill looking to change the fees associated with that water. We'll find out how it affects you after the break.
Salt Lake City Fat Loss is having a huge holiday sale, almost 20% off, making it our lowest prices of the year. You can start the program before, during, or after the holidays. We know the secret to losing up to 1 pound of fat every day with no prepackaged meals, no injections, or surgery. The secret is our program helps reset your metabolism so you can keep the weight off for good. To learn how our clients on average lowered their metabolic age by 17 years, go to slcfatloss.com now to schedule your free consultation and learn why your metabolism may be sabotaging your weight loss goals.
I'm Dave Noriega, and I love the holidays, but you can't help but pay the price for stuffing your face all holiday season long. That's why I want to tell you about Salt Lake City Fat Loss. I lost 57 pounds in 60 days. Schedule a free consultation at slcfatloss.com. slcfatloss.com.
Go to slcfatloss.com and save big now. Almost 20% off, only through December 31st. Results may vary.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 13 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, and Nevada, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, or other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 90 days from a station contest or event are not eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com.
It's official. KSL Sports is your official radio home of the Utah Hockey Club. When the puck hits the ice this fall, you'll hear every goal, every check, and every tension-filled moment on the KSL Sports Zone. Plus, let your voice be heard on the Utah Hockey Club Fan Forum on KSLSports.com, your exclusive home of the NHL and the Utah Hockey Club in Utah is KSL Sports and 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Planning to propose this holiday? Shane Company is ready to help you find your dream engagement ring. We handpick the most beautiful diamonds and colorful gemstones in all shapes and sizes. So when you walk in the door, you can trust your rock is in stock. At Shane Company, we've always sourced directly, cut out the middleman, and pass the savings on to you. We work with your budget, not against it. We'll also protect your ring for life with our free unmatched lifetime warranty. Come see us at shaneco.com and in-store. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Hello, car donation hotline.
Hi, I'd like to donate a car to the Utah Kidney Foundation. Are you in Utah?
Awesome. Let's get some info and we'll send you a tow truck.
But I want my car donation to benefit my neighbor in Farmington who needs a transplant. Are you in Utah?
That's a gnaw. I'm in SoCal, but you're still donating to charity.
What charity?
Doesn't matter.
Yes, I want my donation to stay in Utah.
Righteous dude. You need to call tow cars in Utah. Locals only, am I right?
Oh, yeah. I remember tow cars with a K like kidney. It's on a billboard somewhere. TOWKARS.org. That's it. Towcars.org.
If you'd like your vehicle donation to help Utah kidney patients in the Beehive State, please use the web address on their billboard, towcars.org, to donate your old car or truck. That's TOWK like kidney, ARS. Towcars.org.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
How does a soccer club born in an unlikely place,
Utah? You sure you want to do that in Utah?
built with players no one else wanted,
We knew no one believed in us.
reach the league's highest heights?
We finally did it. It was like just this feeling of getting to the top of the mountain.
How does that same team find a way to shatter expectations in the midst of a fight for its own survival?
Our club is burning to the ground as we speak.
I'm Amy Donaldson, and in a new podcast, Making of a Moment, the RSL story, we take a closer look at one of those iconic sports moments
Soccer is a crazy game, and we saw it firsthand tonight.
and unravel how knowing the truth of these moments can transform what they mean.
I just kind of got chills right now thinking about it.
Making of a Moment, the RSL story, is available now. Follow us at makingamomentpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Huntsville City Crews say they've found the big leak that shut down the city water system. Second, a grand jury in New York has indicted Luigi Mangione on murder charges in the shooting death of United Healthcare's CEO. And third, Congress facing a government shutdown if they can't pass a spending bill by Friday night. Right now, we're at 51 degrees in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm your co-host, Adam Gardner, here with Leah Murray. We just got done talking about affordable housing, which is great. Let's make houses more affordable. The state is growing. We need more housing. That is super important. But with the population growth, that comes the need for something else, drinking water, and just water in general. And a new bill being worked on for the legislative general session looks at a funding in place to ensure Utahns have access to quality drinking water. And we have Senator Scott Sandell from northern Utah, from Box Elder County, the mighty Box Elder County in Tremonton. And we're grateful to have you on the show, Senator. Thanks for being with us.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Okay, so tell us what your bill does.
Okay, so maybe it's easier to start with the problem that we're really trying to solve here, and that is that our Department of Environmental Quality has the Drinking Water Division. They're responsible for making sure that our drinking water is maintained high quality, so that everything that comes into your house is tested on a regular basis. And during the last decade or so, the federal government has participated probably at a pretty high level, actually, in helping to sustain that. That funding is static at this point, and our population is growing. So we are looking at ways to fund that program without the help of the federal government, basically.
No, that's interesting. Like I was thinking, so this is about giving the state drinking water fee authority, which I worry doesn't sound as like exciting as it probably is, right? Because this is figuring out how to make sure that water that comes into your house, right, is that we can keep on testing it for quality, making sure that it is good water, right?
That's exactly right. And every time we add a new neighborhood or a new hookup, we have more drinking water that has to be tested, has to be watched, has to be basically make sure that it's up to standard and up to quality, and that's more volume. So without the federal government stepping up in additional spaces, the state of Utah, and probably the state of Utah, should look at funding this on our own.
Right. And I guess, so I'm just with you to say that I think a fee is necessary. So I'll just say that I think we should be talking about that. I know that that's probably part of the conversation. But another conversation might also be what you just said, volume. I wanted to say I grew up in New York, and we used to have to pay for secondary water, like the amount that you used. When I moved to Utah, I was like, oh, I don't, right? Like I don't have to pay. Is that what we're talking about, is figuring out like what is the fee, and if there is a fee, like how you assess that fee, and then who all and how much they're going to pay?
So this bill file contemplates not anything to do with secondary water. This is all potable water, drinking water that comes into your house, or in certain instances you put out on your lawn, actually, if you don't hook up to secondary water. But the quality of that water is something that we really depend on, making sure that it's safe. You hear boil orders occasionally. Those are instances where testing has found something in the water that needs to be cleaned up. And without those testing, without that division, the drinking water division, we probably wouldn't have the security that we do to know that our drinking water is safe when we turn on our taps.
So if this is going to add, so we're talking about a fee right now for our listeners. We have Senator Scott Sandel with us from Box Elder County, and he's one of the water masters in the legislature. Does a lot of work on water issues, and to try and save the Great Salt Lake and try and save our drinking water. And there have been a number of bills over the last few sessions. And so, are we talking about getting the federal government completely out of this space for funding, or is that funding, that stagnant funding, going to stay there, and then we're just adding to that?
That's a good question. In the foreseeable future, the federal government will continue to participate. The fee that we're talking about would be kind of the incremental increase as we grow our state. And right now, the Department of Drinking Water Division, does not have fee authority. So we're contemplating giving them some authority to place a fee on it. It'd be very small, maybe think half a cent in thousands of gallons of water. But we have contemplated, do we do this per hookup or do we do this by volume? And I tend to lean towards volume, because anytime we're trying to ration scarce resources, if we price it by volume, we make some inroad into conservation. So I'm leaning towards making sure the legislation says that we're going to do this by volume. If you do it by meter, it's more secure, it's more stable, but I do believe that volume has some benefit. And then the legislature would give that fee authority to the Department of Environmental Quality, and they would propose what the fee is and then bring it back to the legislature for final approval. But it's something kind of behind the scenes people probably don't see. They just figure when they turn on their tap, everything's going to be good. They just assume that it's going to be healthy and high quality, but that all takes resources to make sure that happens.
Senator Sandel, this sounds really reasonable to me, so I feel like it's going to fly through the session and pass on the first day. I mean, do you feel like you're going to have any significant challenges against what you're trying to do? Like, what do you think the chances are for your bill?
Well, we worked on it last year, and quite honestly, got it through the Senate quite easily. When it got to the House, there was some concern that maybe drinking water didn't need fee authority, that they didn't need the extra money. There were some who thought that it would be better if we just took it out of general fund to fund the difference. So towards the end of the session, I just said, well, let's pause here. We'll work on it over the summer, and we'll bring it back and see how we can get this done where we can get the legislature on, especially the House members on board, those that had questions. So we'll see. I've been working with them, and Adam understands this is always sometimes a process between different thoughts.
Well, and that's what I love about the legislature. I love that that you work so closely with the other body, with the House of Representatives, and then until there's a bit of consensus. And obviously there has to be for this bill to go forward, and especially since we're dealing with something as big as water. But can you talk about the budget a little bit? Where are we coming into next year? How do the tax receipts look? Is there going to be enough funding in general? We only have about another minute. But are we going to be okay on funding some of these programs and other water and housing affordability programs that are coming up next session?
Yeah, so great question. In 45 seconds, this year is going to look more like a pre-COVID year. During COVID, the amount of money that was infused by the federal government into people's pockets and into state government was enormous. Now we're going to pull back. We're going to have enough money to make sure that the lights are on, that there's money to be put in savings, but we're not going to have a lot of extra money to be able to fund everybody's needs. There will be billions of dollars of needs, and I think there will maybe be a couple of $100 million to try to pass around.
Well, I think I remember, Senator Sandel, there was one year we were having a conversation, and you said that your committee had something like $30 million to spend and $350 million in requests. So I do not envy anything that, that you and the other appropriators have to do. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, and thanks so much for handling this important issue. That was Senator Scott Sandel from the Utah State Senate, representing Box Elder in Tooele County. Grateful to have him on the show, a good friend of the show, a great guest. There's going to be a lot of important issues coming up next session, and KSL Inside Sources is going to be following them very closely. Coming up in the second hour of Inside Sources, let's talk about some national news. President-elect Trump is suing an Iowa newspaper. That's all coming up next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour, pileup that resulted in a car fire this morning on I-15 in Lehigh, apparently caused by a wrong-way driver. Police tell us the driver sideswiped a vehicle in the northbound lanes, then made a U-turn to go southbound, hit two other cars, and then that car caught fire. The semi-driver swerved to avoid the wrong-way car, hit another vehicle in the process. The driver who set off the chain of events was in the car that caught fire, but suffered non-life-threatening injuries. A year-long fishing competition to remove carp from Utah Lake begins next year. The deputy director of the Utah Lake Authority, Sam Brager, says this competition just another way to help Utah Lake.
This is not meant to replace everything that DWR, the Division of Wildlife Resources, and the June Sucker Program and others are doing. Those efforts are still ongoing to remove carp, but we wanted to put together an event to give the public a chance to participate.
He says carp are harming the lake by feeding toxic algae blooms and harming other fish species. The Great Carp Hunt, as they're calling it, begins in February. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Schools in Madison, Wisconsin are getting threats following yesterday's deadly shooting at a private school. Police Chief Sean Barnes says somebody's taking advantage of the tragedy.
Today, numerous MMSD schools were targeted by false threats, often known as swatting.
The chief also corrected one fact that had been misreported. It was a second-grade teacher, not a second-grade student, who made the initial call to police. Your money at this moment. The Dow Jones average is down on the day right now, 267 points. The NASDAQ is down 64. At our KSL weather, we're going to see the sun, but we're also likely to see some haze in the next couple of days. That's coming up. KSL News Time 2:02.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Tim, we've got some really good news for our listeners.
Yeah, as long as we've been talking about soda and seen all the success stories around the halls here at KSL about soda, we have never seen this.
Yeah, so it's 2 for 1 in the month of December, which means, I had life-changing weight loss with soda. I lost 34 pounds, and I did it, 3 years ago now? And I want that increase in energy and confidence and health for all of our listeners. And right now, you and your spouse or you and your child could do it 2 for 1.
Double the results, half the cost. We've told you the story of my daughter who lost 42 pounds and how that nutritionist actually becomes like a member of your family. Well, now you can have a member of your family who also gets the benefits of being able to reach out and get that needed help along the way from a great nutritionist.
How great is that to be able to not just do it for yourself, but to also do it for somebody you love?
Go to sodaweightloss.com right now. It's spelled SOTA and it stands for state of the
art.
Get up to a 30% upfront bonus to use for your retirement income, or up to 12% per year to help grow your retirement income. Whether you're in retirement or will be retiring within 10 years, Trajan Wealth can offer some of the highest guarantees in the business. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I know no one wants to work forever. We all need to retire someday, and I know you've worked hard for your money, so now is the time to guarantee it. Take advantage of up to a 30% upfront bonus for your retirement income, or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't woulda, shoulda, coulda. Get up to a 30% bonus just for opening an account, or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't leave your retirement to chance. Retire the right way, the Trajan way, with Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. DBA in most states has Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Progressive presents good news, bad news, dumb news, then great news. Good news. Your coworker Kyle said bundling home and auto insurance with Progressive could save you money. Bad news. While saying this, Kyle was eating your clearly labeled lunch. Dumb news. Pizza near work costs $7 a slice, and it tastes like drywall covered in ketchup. Great news. You decide to see if you could save money bundling at Progressive.com and enjoy more lunches far away from Kyle. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair. Save on every gallon with the DinoPay app. And here's Ricky Meese.
We do have delays due to lane restrictions with the pothole repair work taking place in the Riverdale area. And if you are traveling westbound on I-84 trying to get to the I-15 junction, that's where the backups will start prior to 1050 West. Expect some of those delays and lane restrictions there up to the I-15 junction. Salt Lake County freeways all clear and looking good. Arrive in style in a great fitting suit from Mr. Mac. They ensure a perfect fit, offering fast, free alterations by expert tailors at all 9 Mr. Mac stores. Arrive in style. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, the clouds are breaking up this afternoon, and then tomorrow high pressure moves in with more sunshine and temperatures near 50. We're at 51 degrees right now with partly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bonas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to the second hour of Inside Sources. Now, Adam Gardner used to be one of my students. Now he is a top lobbyist in the state of Utah founder and in charge of ASG Consulting, sitting alongside his former political science professor. I don't know if you remember, Adam, back in the day, if you came to visit me in my office, which you would have done, not like regularly, it wasn't like you were ever in trouble, but you would have come to see me. And on my door is a postcard that has a picture of Harry Truman holding the Chicago Daily Tribune on November 3rd, 1948. And the headline says, Dewey defeats Truman. Do you remember that from my office?
The most famous political photograph probably of all time is that Truman. Yeah, right on your door.
Yeah. So I love talking about that because when I'm talking about with students like, polling is not a prediction, right? Polling is just kind of what is happening. This poor newspaper, they all decide to go to bed, right? They were like, oh, we're pretty sure Dewey's going to win. They print the headline, they go to sleep, and the next day there is President Truman holding up this. Actually, he beat Dewey, and Dewey did not defeat him. I don't remember the story including Truman suing the Chicago Daily Tribune because he was frustrated by that headline. And I tell this story just to bring up our next news item, which is that President-elect Donald Trump is suing the Des Moines Register newspaper and pollster J. Ann Seltzer because that newspaper in the days ahead of the election said that Kamala Harris would win Iowa. Now, I'm going to tell you what, Adam, and when we were talking about elections, a month and a half ago.
We talked about it on the show.
Right, and I remember thinking, if that poll is right, wow. But I didn't think the poll was right. Does that make sense? Like I was like, I'm pretty sure Iowa's going to go for Trump. But if that poll is right, Harris might win this thing. It never would occur to me that the president-elect would accuse that media outlet and sue them. And I guess he is arguing that Seltzer's polling miss was not a coincidence, that it was intentional. And Trump's lawsuit filed accuses the newspaper and the pollster of violating Iowa's consumer fraud laws by engaging in deception.
He's got to prove that. That's going to be the hardest part. I think he's on kind of a high right now because they sued ABC and George Stephanopoulos.
And ABC folded.
Settled,
yeah.
And granted him, settled for $10 million. So a significant win. And ABC, I think is smart to do this and issue the apology. Otherwise, you open yourself up to discovery and everything else. And that's what's going to happen here. So they have to prove that this was intentional. And so it's going to be, I think this is going to be a hard one to settle. Also, the Des Moines Register, I don't think has a ton of money. And I don't know what you're going to get out of Ann Seltzer. I didn't know who she was until her poll came out. And to show you, this was a pretty big deal because Trump was always winning the state. Like, he won in the Iowa caucuses. He was always winning and very popular. What I thought was interesting was this poll comes out right before Election Day, and then it showed Harris beating Trump by 3 points in Iowa. When the election happened, Trump won by 14. It was not close. But it just is reminiscent to me of 2016. No poll was accurate at all. Hillary Clinton was winning everything. And on election night, I just remember Hillary's going to win this thing. It's not close. And boy, were we all wrong. And so if you say that it was intentional, you got to prove that in a court. And then that's going to open the newspaper up to discovery and everything else. And so we don't want to find they don't want to find emails back and forth of if there was any type of collusion. So do they settle, or do we have to fight this thing out in court?
Yeah, and I think that's one side of the question. I want to push back and ask the other side of the question, which is, what did you say earlier? He's on a high. So he got ABC.
He's suing everybody.
Yes, but a little bit, Adam, for the love of all that's holy, he won the election.
Yeah, but he's always been a guy that sues everybody.
All right. I mean, a little bit, I feel like,
once
there other
once
things?
A guy from Manhattan, always a guy from Manhattan.
But isn't it the case, and then let's get into, he still has troubles in Manhattan, but isn't it the case, you would think, his whole point, like what was his pitch to the American people in this last election? I'm going to fix the economy. I'm going to fix the border. I'm going to fix it. Like, I feel like if you could hashtag the Trump campaign of 2024, he was going to fix it. And right now what he's doing is just suing everybody. And I a little bit wonder, how does this lawsuit, how does his getting $10 million from ABC fix how much my eggs cost at the grocery store.
He doesn't care about that.
All right, go tell me
so
why.
Look, yeah, he's going to try and bring prices down, and the last two presidents have spent more than any other presidents ever in their respective 4 years. This time, it became such a key issue in his campaign that he's kind of trying to rein that in, and this whole spectacle with Doge, and in Elon and Vivek, and so we're going to see if that actually bears any fruit in a year and a half. But up until then, look. This guy this is how he's done business his entire career. And he's very thin-skinned. And if you go after him, he's going to go after you. So this will always continually be a fight. And when he becomes president, he's not going to care either. He's going to still do 50 things at once, as all presidents have to do. And his campaign and others are going to be suing like crazy. It's not going to stop.
All right, so over in New York, so you mentioned Manhattan, another place where he's got a lawsuit. Litigation happening. President-elect Trump tried to get his hush money conviction thrown out, basically saying that the Supreme Court's recent ruling on presidential immunity would apply. So it would protect him from prosecution for official acts. But the Manhattan judge ruled that Trump's actions, such as social media posts, were personal, not official, and refused to toss that conviction. So he still has this hush money conviction in Manhattan. Where does that go, do you think, Adam, given what you just said about him?
Look, the hard part is we're only talking about, this is a criminal issue. He was found guilty of 34 felonies. I actually thought this was one of the weakest cases that existed out of the 50 or out of the 4 or 5 nationwide that were happening against him. I thought this was one of the weakest, but he was found guilty, and they had to kind of put everything on pause because he's going to be the president of the United States, and you can't put the president of the United States in jail. And so we're just going to wait for 4 years, but this litigation is not going to slow down. They're going to be arguing back and forth because he was the president. We should dismiss this thing.
Does that distract in any way? Do you think this hurts him? How do I say politically?
Well, he was found guilty while he was running for president. It didn't hurt him at all. Every time he was found guilty, he raised more money and got more votes. So I don't see this hurting him. I think it makes him a superhero to his base.
Gotcha. No downside. All right. Coming up on Inside Sources, our neighbors to the north, Canada, are facing a high chance of government collapse. And it looks like President-elect Trump not suing, but playing some part in Canada's coming down. More on that after the break.
The KSL News Radio app will update you on breaking stories.
A house explosion this afternoon.
And you'll get exclusive audio streams from local events, breaking news, and sports.
Cougars feel like they can overcome anything.
All of your favorite KSL hosts are there too, so you can listen anytime. Plus traffic and weather. Download it today. The app for KSL News Radio.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
This Friday from 10 to 1, the movie show comes to Sound Sleep Medical. But first, take the time to learn about a better night's rest. Sound Sleep Medical delivers oral appliance therapy that treats sleep apnea without the use of CPAP machines. They're professionally fit, warranted, and covered by most major medical insurance. In the days of a poor night's sleep, Sound Sleep Medical will help. Call Sound Sleep Medical at 801-716-8672 for details. Sound Sleep Medical.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Matthew.
Huh? Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I just need you to listen to me.
I know that a lot of times, Mom, it might not seem like I'm listening to you, but I am. I hear you. And what you say really does matter to me.
I mean, let's be honest. No kid likes rules, but I get why we have them. I hear you, and I know it's because you care.
All the talks we've had over the years, including what you've told me about not using alcohol and other drugs, they stick with me. And believe it or not, they really do make a difference, especially at times that matter most.
Hey, want a drink?
No thanks, I'm good. So thank you, Dad, for talking and preparing me for what's ahead.
Thanks, Mom, for never giving up and always being my biggest fan.
Thank you for letting me know what you expect, so I can try to meet your expectations.
Thank you for talking.
For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Dave and Debbie.
It's impossible to digest and consume all of the news that's now coming at us through either social media or through web pages or through the radio. Pick what is most impactful in your life and focus on that. And that's what Dave and I do every single morning. We pick those issues that are most important to our listeners and we boil it down so it's digestible. It's simple to understand.
I think we're trying to find the essence of the story. You know, you can't be an expert on all things, but that doesn't mean you can't be curious and really find out more and educate yourself and learn the complexities of an issue. But I think all of us start at ground zero on everything. Ask questions, show that curiosity.
And then if you need more research, you can always go to KSLNewsRadio.com and learn more.
Listen for Dave and Dejanovic 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed. Learn how at www.ready.gov. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Ad Council.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a driver going the wrong way on I-15 in Lehigh was rescued from a burning car after it was involved in a multi-vehicle accident. Second, the Utah Lake Commission is ready to pay anglers who catch carp. And third, turns out it was a second-grade teacher, not a second-grade student, who reported yesterday's deadly shooting at a school in Wisconsin. 50 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio. I'm Adam Gardner here with Leah Murray. President-elect Trump's proposed policies on tariffs and trades is already causing issues with our neighbors to the north. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau appears to be in peril over Trump's threats, leading to uncertainty that his government will continue. And when we talk about a government collapse, we're talking in the parliamentary sense, right? So there's a vote of no confidence or a resignation, and then you have to redo elections.
Right. So that, by the way, has happened over in Germany. So there was a vote of no confidence today in Germany.
And France just a couple of weeks ago.
A little bit. I'm like,
Britain every 6 days.
Yeah, it's like that Taylor Swift song. We all just need to calm down. Wouldn't it be great if everyone just calmed down? But no, so for this one, Canadian Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland resigned, citing disagreements with the prime minister over how to handle Donald Trump's tariff threats. So can we back up for just a minute and talk about the tariff threats? So basically, what the president-elect is saying is, in addition to having a tariff on China, and we've definitely discussed this on this show earlier when President-elect Trump talked about it, what he's also going to do is put tariffs on Canada and on Mexico. A little bit, I understand the tariffs on China. Adam, I'd love to hear your thoughts on, I don't know, why we would be running into tariffs with Canada and Mexico. I feel like we answered that question the last
During
time
his
he was
first term.
president. Yeah, go.
Yeah, so, I mean, look, with China, it totally makes sense. I'm a free trade guy except for China. Like, countries that are bad actors, that manipulate their currencies, that actually subsidize all of their, or own all of their companies, it's unfair to a free market, and so they have to be punished. And so they agreed to do some things to enter into the World Trade Organization. They have not been good actors, and so I think they should be punished by us and our allies. TPP under the Obama administration, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, would have done that. And both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump ran against that policy. It was because it was not great for unions, and they were both big union people. And so we could have done that. We chose not to, and then the job never got finished with China. We never had an agreement. But he also went against NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement. And so we killed NAFTA, and he said it was a bad deal for America. Fine. So they came up with a different solution between the three countries. They signed an agreement, and now we're back to square one because he's calling for more tariffs, more punishment, more taxes for the American people on Canadian products. Where that's a really big deal is with energy and with lumber. A lot of the lumber that we get from in the United States to build our affordable housing comes from Canada. And if you are going to start moving markets with drastic tariffs on lumber and energy, that's going to be a real problem. Prices are going to go up. But it also hurts Canada. It hurts Canadian citizens. Justin Trudeau went down to Mar-a-Lago, and they met and talked about some of these trade issues. And one thing that Donald Trump said is he said something like, well, then I'll just make Canada the 51st state, and you can be a governor, and you're not going to be a prime minister. Kind of a horrible thing to say to another leader, and Canada's always been a super strong ally, and they're our biggest trading partner. So to say that, I thought was pretty bad. But also, Justin Trudeau had no idea how to respond to it, and that's what Trump is really good at. We're all trying to play 3D chess, and he's playing hopscotch, and we don't
like
understand how to
whack-a-mole,
react when
right. Yeah.
And so because of that, he gets in a spat with his own finance minister. And in this type of government, they're all members of parliament, correct?
That's right.
That fill these roles.
Yeah, so the answer with parliament is you select your executive from among yourselves. So the reason they're called the prime minister, it's the first minister, right? They're all ministers of parliament. The prime minister is the first minister. So what usually happens is when a member of the cabinet steps down, because that's also a person inside of the legislature,
they're all
in
colleagues.
that parliament, they're all colleagues. She is an ally. Right now, she's saying, I am no longer his ally. She accused Trudeau of using political gimmicks rather than addressing the real serious issue, maybe the growing concerns about U.S.-Canadian relations, and called on him to step down. Basically, by the end of day yesterday, Trudeau had a new finance minister in place. But the thing is, unlike us, if people quit on President-elect Trump out of his cabinet, which they will, this happens for every president, we don't then say, right, who cares? Like, that's about him and his executive branch. But for this is kind of like, imagine Mike Johnson if Steve Scalise quit in the House of Representatives.
And said... And trashed him on the way out.
That's right.
He's a bad speaker. We can't deal with him.
So the other members in the House might go, we're not going to have him be speaker anymore as a result. So a little bit, that is what's happening in Canada. I think it's interesting, and I love the quote from Trudeau, basically said, it's obviously been an eventful day. It has not been an easy day, right? So he is kind of managing all of that fallout. I mean, I think your point's really well taken. Canada is a major trade partner for us. I don't know. Now it just kind of says, we were teasing earlier that people are playing three-dimensional chess, and President-elect Trump, I said whack-a-mole, you said hopscotch, but maybe this is one of the moves of three-dimensional chess,
It
right?
kind of works.
So maybe what he's thinking is, if I can make Trudeau look ridiculous and someone in his government steps down, then I get a new leader in
So he would
Canada.
still have a new leader of their Liberal Party, though. Is that correct?
Right.
So they would fill it from among themselves unless they hold a new election.
Unless it's a snap election, which is what's happening over in Germany. So the vote of no confidence happening in Germany. So now we move to elections really quickly.
I have been following Canada very little, but they have. I do follow Justin Trudeau on social media, and I follow the conservative leader, Pierre Olivier, I think is how you pronounce his name, and they're both great speakers. They're both good-looking guys who know how to speak to the people, and I think they do a really great job getting their messages out. I disagree with some of their message, but Pierre is chomping at the bit for this. And I watch some of they do the Prime Minister's questions, and they actually have the debate on the floor, which I love. I wish we got to do that with our presidents more often, and they would be called to the carpet and held to account. We don't do that here in the United States, but they do that in Canada.
But man, it's fun. You should watch it on C-SPAN.
It's fun.
Yeah.
And so I was watching them going back and forth, and although the finance minister resigned, Pierre was going after the finance minister about, this was your problem since the very beginning. You didn't choose great people. Everyone in your cabinet is broken. And so are we going to have a new election anytime soon? Are we going to see big changes in the Canadian government?
It would require a vote of no confidence from that parliament in their first minister, right? So just like we said with the House. So it'd be like Kevin McCarthy being bounced. So it would require them to decide that there is a problem. So you'd get elections if you have a vote of no confidence. But England did this a few years back where they kind of went through three leaders.
You had one that only lasted
2 minutes.
Yeah,
right.
a month or something.
Where they were managing kind of Brexit. So that's in play. Do you think, so I'm looking at Pierre Poilievre, it says he is a champion of free market. He is a conservative. Trump's a conservative, but I don't know.
I think he's more conservative than Trump because I think he understands free markets and
does it
a little bit
change
more.
the dynamic? I feel like he would want not tariffs.
No, he wouldn't want tariffs,
right.
but you would have a more willing partner coming to the table that would actually show some respect and, hey, I'm one of you, Donald Trump, and I think they could get something done, or maybe it could be good for both parties. Make sure you're signed up to get KSL's newsletter with the 3 things you need to know each day. Just text inbox to 57500 to get started. And next on Inside Sources, let's talk about some legislation related to firearms. There are a few bills being worked through the legislative session that begins next month, and we'll get more from the bill sponsor next.
It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. Our top local story this hour. UDOT says they know the area around Point of the Mountain is growing. They have a number of projects that they hope will ease congestion in that area. UDOT Region 2 Communications Manager Kyler Sharp says the focus is creating more alternatives to I-15.
We're trying to get people onto Mountain View or Bangor. Hopefully that'll draw some of the traffic away from that choke point.
Sharp says by 2026 they'll have Mountain View connected between Porter Rockwell and Saratoga Springs, and 4 new interchanges on Bangor Highway complete. After that, he says they plan to build a new freeway in between the current lanes of Mountain View. Police in Riverdale are asking pedestrians to avoid the sidewalk under the I-84 bridge on 4400 South. Some debris broke off the bridge yesterday and fell to the sidewalk. Engineers are evaluating the damage. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The man accused of killing the CEO of United Healthcare has now been indicted by a grand jury on murder charges. ABC reports he's also now charged with terrorism. The grand jury in New York City handed up the indictment today. Luigi Mangione is still being held without bail in Pennsylvania, awaiting extradition to New York. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average closed trading today down 267 points, and the NASDAQ was down 64, the S&P 500 down 23 today. And our KSL weather. Things are going to clear up, but then the haze comes back. That's next. KSL News Time, 2:31.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
If you're trying to decide which gutter protection to put on your home, don't just ask how they'll handle leaves. Ask how they'll handle ice. Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and that's right, ice. See, plenty of gutter guards are good at keeping out leaves, but most are made with flimsy materials that can bend, buckle, and break under the weight of too much ice. Kind of a big problem in an icy state like Utah, right? At RGS Exteriors, our exclusive gutter protection systems are built Utah tough. They're made with premium strength materials that hold up to 1,200 pounds of ice per square foot. Simply put, they're not going to budge. Our gutter guards are also certified to handle hurricane-level winds and rain. Mother Nature can't damage them. Guaranteed. Utah Tough Products. That's the RGS way. For a free estimate, call 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's rgsexteriors.com or 801-280-3110.
Do you hear that? These are the sounds of our jeweler's workshop at Shane Company, where they're working their magic to bring beautiful, fine jewelry gifts to life. At Shane Company, we love jewelry as much as you do, and we know what it takes to create something special. No matter your budget, we craft our jewelry with expert care to be passed down for generations. With jewelry craftsmen in every store and an unmatched free lifetime warranty, we're here to make sure your jewelry always shines bright. Stop by and shop online at shaneco.com. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Jazz games are better together. Host an unforgettable night at Delta Center with colleagues, friends, families, whoever. Group tickets are the best way to get everyone together to cheer on the Jazz. Pick from a variety of options for seating, dining, and game day experiences. Start planning your big night at the game by calling 801-355-DUNK, emailing group sales at utahjazz.com, or simply visiting utahjazz.com.
Higher taxes, soaring inflation, record low interest rates, and the skyrocketing cost of healthcare. The list goes on. Retiring successfully today is a lot more complicated than ever before. Learn how you can tackle the biggest challenges that you'll face in retirement today. Don't miss a special edition of Retirement Solutions Radio. It's this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL, News Radio 1027.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair. Save on every gallon with the DinoPay app. Here's Ricky Meese.
In Weber County, we have an accident blocking right lanes of travel southbound Washington Boulevard at North Street. Also, the closure of the road, and this is due to the pothole repair work. This is emergency maintenance closing a stretch of westbound I-84 as you're approaching I-15 in Riverdale, all traffic being forced off the road there. Looking for the best gift ever? That's what you get at Minky Couture, the original luxury blanket company. Use code KSL50 online and in stores to receive 50% off your purchase. Visit minkycouture.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We have clouds clearing up this afternoon, then high pressure moves in tomorrow with more sunshine. Temperatures near 50 Thursday and Friday. It's 50 right now. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
And welcome back to Inside Sources. You're here with me, Leah Murray, alongside my good friend Adam Gardner, and we're talking about all the most interesting things that are happening and a little bit in the shadow of what happened yesterday, thinking about the Second Amendment, thinking about firearms, lots of conversation in this country about how to manage, when those kind of horrible things happen, and whether that Second Amendment is absolute, whether there are some stipulations when we are thinking about it. We have got with us State House Representative Matt McPherson, who has got a bill talking about firearm retention and firearm safety. So just talk to us, Representative. First of all, welcome to the show. Thank you so much
in
for being
studio.
here.
It's rare we get a representative in studio. Thanks for making the trek down.
You bet.
It makes us happy because then we can look at you and talk rather than listen on the phone. But talk to us about the bills that you have. What's in them? What are they seeking to solve?
Sure. So I guess the easiest thing to talk about would be the firearm safety incentives bill. This actually I ran last session as well. We ran out of time on it and went through 5 or 6 different iterations before we finally got it before the Senate. We got it to on the very last day of Senate committees, and we just ran out of time.
Been there.
Yeah. But the impetus behind this originally was as we had, if you recall, a couple of youth, children that had found firearms from their parents, one in a vehicle, I believe, one in a home, and resulted in accidental discharges, one resulting in a death. And it was that mixed with, we have a couple of issues with mental health with our children in this state. We have a very friendly Second Amendment state as well. So this bill was intended to find a way to incentivize safety devices for people to purchase them in a way that wouldn't violate the Second Amendment. And so that's kind of the underlying purpose of this bill, but I'm happy to go over some details.
How does the bill work? Tell us what the incentive actually is.
So what it would be is a one-time tax incentive. It would not be a credit, just simply be a rebate, up to $50 for any type of safety device. And it's up to you as an individual or you as a family to decide what that means. So if you live as a single woman alone in an apartment and your firearm is for personal defense, maybe having a cable lock or a safe is not the best solution for you because you want quick access to that firearm. So you want more of a biometric, case that you can open up quickly. Those things can cost about $50. And that's a good option for you. But if you're a family, you've got 3 or 4 kids at home, maybe some with some propensity, maybe some mental health issues, you may have a number of firearms. You may want something that's a little bit more long-term storage, or if you're an elderly person and you don't use your firearms often, but you have them for sport or for recreation or other purposes, you may want more long-term storage solutions. So we're not prescribing what they have to purchase or what qualifies. If it's a device that's intended purpose is to prevent unauthorized access or use of the firearm, it would qualify. One-time credit of up to $50.
So I think this is great because normally you can make all the laws that you want that say everyone has to secure their firearms. You have to secure it in a car. You have to secure it at your house. You have to have a child lock if you have a kid under 3. Whatever the law is going to be, a lot of these laws already exist, and people are still going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Or be negligent. And so what I like about your bill is it actually says we recognize that there's a problem, but we want to incentivize you to make the decision yourself, to actually have to think about it and then go purchase something at the store to keep you and your family safe, but still allow you to use it for recreation, for hunting, for quick access if there's ever a problem at home or in the car.
Yeah, and the good news is that you start a conversation, obviously, because your suppliers, your retailers, they're going to be incentivized then to advertise that this exists, because effectively you're telling people, hey, you can purchase this product we sell, and the state of Utah can give you up to possibly the entire purchase price back on your tax return. That's a powerful incentive for our retailers to actually advertise this.
Right.
And so it's kind of a win-win. The primary concern came from, well, how do we prevent this from what state agency is going to run this? Who's going to gather and collect all this data on all these gun owners? Well, and that's why it was our hiccup last session. We ran it through the tax commission. To run it as a tax incentive would mean that there's no data that's recorded that any agency has access to. It's automatically deleted as soon as the tax return.
It's just something you you file it on your tax return.
That's
so
right.
They're not collecting anything,
That's right.
any information except for you requested it.
But some people find the tax code to be kind of holy, and they don't want to mess with it. So it was our headache last session. We're going to see if we can find a way through that this one.
No, I appreciate that. And I actually agree with Adam's point that it sounds to me like recognizing there are issues, being very cognizant of the Second Amendment and how important that is and trying to navigate that. I feel every responsible gun owner that I know has a beautiful gun safe in their house, right? Like that's usually how they're storing
America.
their guns, right? No, but like most of my friends were hunters. So most of the gun owners I know are hunters. So they've got their guns in a gun safe. I am wondering, and most of the gun owners I know are very responsible and very good at their gun safety, right? I have never felt unsafe. I'm wondering if you think anything you're doing here maybe incentivizes everyone to be a responsible gun owner. Does that make sense? Like
Sure.
by maybe I don't want to say that people are irresponsible, but maybe someone just couldn't afford the excellent gun safe, or maybe they couldn't afford, right?
No,
Like, so you're hoping. Go ahead.
That is a good point, and it is a part of this, is that the incentive does allow those people that, if you're in a situation where, right now you're worried about the cost of living, groceries, energy prices just went up, rental prices, everything's up. And so if you're in a situation where perhaps you might be evaluating the balance between, do I need to buy a biometric safe for my handgun that I very much want to keep and I need for protection or for whatever reason I decide, and I'm concerned about gun safety, but is it to that level where I can invest, $100, $50 in some sort of device? Maybe, maybe not. And so we want to kind of take that evaluation away and just say, look, you don't have to decide which one is more important in the moment. We want to say that you can do this and we'll incentivize you, we'll help you pay for it. Just go ahead and think about it, do it, find out what's best for you. And even if nothing else, if all they do is think about it and come up with their own solution and they never end up using the credit, that's great too.
For our last minute, I do want to talk to you about you have a bill called quarantine procedures or something to that effect, which I love reading just the headlines of these bills.
It sounds like a Stephen King novel. That's a title.
If Stephen King was a litigator.
Right.
So talk to me about what that means. Is like, are you trying to roll anything back? Are you trying to get us back to pre-COVID? Or are you trying to solve an issue that you're seeing today?
So this is effectively, yes. We are rolling some of these back to pre-COVID. We have what's called orders of restriction, is how the health department does things like shutting down meth houses so that you can't get access to them because they're poisonous or toxic. Or if there's a restaurant that has a hepatitis outbreak, they can go in and they can shut it down. But then we created, during COVID, orders of constraint, which allowed the health department to just say, well, instead of, because one restaurant has a health issue, we're going to shut it down. We're just going to shut down all restaurants.
Got it.
And there's no Fourth Amendment sort of like, you don't have an ability to kind of challenge that as an individual. So we're going to try to roll in the good things that we added, like bioterrorism, natural disasters. We're going to roll those back into orders of restriction that didn't exist prior and get rid of the orders of constraint.
I love that.
All right,
This is great.
Representative McPherson, thank you so much for joining us this
Thank you.
afternoon. Good luck in the session this year. I hope
Appreciate it.
everything passes for you. Next up in our final segment on Inside Sources, we are going to talk about the Equal Rights Amendment and Adam's strong feelings about it. Stay with us.
This holiday season, give the gift of joy with Mrs. Kavanaugh's chocolates. Imagine the delight on your loved ones' faces as they unwrap a box of their handcrafted gourmet chocolates. From creamy caramels to chocolate-covered treats, each piece is made with love and the finest ingredients. Family-owned for over 60 years, Mrs. Kavanaugh's offers a tradition of quality and care. Whether it's their famous chocolate-covered nuts or their decadent fudge, Mrs. Kavanaugh's has something to make every holiday moment sweeter. Find the perfect gifts this year for your family, friends, and employees at MrsKavanaughs.com or visit their retail store to explore their holiday specials and delicious corporate gifts. Order now and make the season unforgettable with the magic of Mrs. Kavanaugh's chocolates, where every bite is a memory. Share the sweetness.
This week's movie show is brought to you by Sound Sleep Medical. Get a free sleep screening and a free sleep consultation by tuning in to a special edition of Movie Show Friday from 9 a.m. to noon. Sound Sleep Medical has 7 locations in Utah.
Imagine a currency that has true value, a currency that's local, protects your wealth, and resists inflation. Now imagine that currency is anchored to the stability of gold. Introducing Goldbacks, a currency made of 24-karat gold, accepted at over 800 businesses in Utah. Don't just imagine it. Visit alpinegold.com to start spending in gold. Use promo code RADIO to get free shipping on orders of over $200 or more.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
If you're struggling with your mortgage, there's a free government program that offers expert one-on-one advice about your mortgage options. Call 1-888-995-HOPE or visit makinghomeaffordable.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
Tim and Amanda.
One of the things I love about radio is that we are all hearing it at the same time. One of the differences between that and just scrolling on your phone is that I don't know when that story was posted. Maybe an hour ago, maybe 3 days ago.
To your point about who wrote it, where did it come from, and is it dated information, our hope every day is that we can provide a more broad spectrum of information on a single topic that you can then take and make decisions on your own.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the Utah Department of Transportation planning ahead to avoid congestion around new developments at Point of the Mountain. Second, the suspected murderer of United Healthcare's CEO has been indicted now by a grand jury in New York City. He's still waiting for extradition from Pennsylvania. Third, Utah State's men's basketball team, one of just 6 undefeated teams in the country now. 50 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
A last-minute push for President Biden to certify the Equal Rights Amendment, a proposed amendment that was first proposed in 1923. It gained a lot of ground in the 1960s, but it still has never received enough support to become an actual amendment. So this is Senator Gillibrand from New York, from your home state.
That's right.
She makes a last-minute White House push for women's rights, a constitutional amendment. What are your thoughts on this? Is this thing going to happen? Well, first of all, at least we're not cutting it close.
I love how you're like, yeah.
I'm pushing this right back onto you.
I know.
Leah.
I appreciate that. Here's my question for you. So she is calling on the president to certify the Equal Rights Amendment. Like, have 38 states passed it?
Well, I know Utah, it requires 38 states to ratify it. Virginia, in 2020, became the 38th state to ratify the bill. After it sat stagnant for decades. But the interesting thing is there was an actual deadline put on this amendment. And
Which it expired.
Which it expired.
Right.
So some are arguing that by Virginia passing this thing that it could be ratified by the president. And it would be an interesting test because you'd have to actually test this thing out. Or is it null and void and the Supreme Court won't get involved?
Right, but also like if this actually mattered to you, if women actually mattered to you and you were Joe Biden and this happened in 2020, why doesn't he certify it 4 years ago?
I agree. We're doing all these last pushes, and this includes the Equal Rights Amendment, but there are also other things. Senator Durbin in Senate leadership, Democratic leadership, filed a bill to get rid of the Electoral College. What a stupid idea, first of all, and to do it in the last week that you guys are going to be in office. I don't understand the logic here. I don't understand what they're trying to prove. Are you trying to do something for your Democratic base in your home state, or are you actually trying to get Republicans to respond before the end? Because, Leah, you can't expect a bill that you're dropping today to ever get past both houses of Congress.
Yeah, no, of course. But don't you think it is, how do I say, Congress is often, ideas are kind of launched, right? So that you can go home and tell the people who vote for you, I filed a bill, right? Like, so right. So part of the game is I don't necessarily expect something to go the distance, but I want to be able to tell my constituents that I did something. I think the thing that bothers me, and let's go back to the Equal Rights Amendment, is again, if this mattered to you. By the way, if the Electoral College mattered to you, the right time for that was 2017. So the last time that the Electoral College delivered a president who didn't win the popular election, right, that would have been the right time for that. So I don't understand, how do I say, and maybe you speak about it because you worked in the Senate, the disconnect, right? So we talk about, what are they called, messaging bills or virtue signaling bills?
Virtue signaling is probably the right way to put it. And in fact, the Utah Elections Office tweeted out today, posted on X, today the Utah electors officially cast their votes for president and vice president, a tradition established in the Constitution. The Lieutenant Governor's Office was honored to host this historic event and posts a picture of the electors, the 6 electors, signing their name, actually casting their vote. You don't know who these people are. They're some of your neighbors, but actually each party elects their electors in your state convention. And so now they're finally getting called up to bat. I want to get your thoughts on the ERA. The Equal Rights Amendment. It's been 100 years in the making. It's taken so long for our state has. It's come up in our state. It's never passed either one of the legislative bodies in the state of Utah. What are your thoughts on the Equal Rights Amendment? And I would say, I want to know your thoughts, and then also, how does that actually give women equal rights? What rights are they missing?
Yeah, so that begs the question: did you think I needed an amendment to be equal with you?
Apparently, I didn't think so.
I do not. Right. So a little bit, my hot take on this is I think the Equal Rights Amendment, time, place, and manner, was probably completely necessary in the 1970s when there was actually energy about it. It doesn't pass. And so women spend the last 50 years earning their freedom, earning their equality. And so if you pushed me, my answer is I don't need some constitutional amendment to make me equal. I've earned it myself.
And in 1923, the 19th Amendment had only been in existence for 3 years. Women only had suffrage for 3 years. In Utah, they had it for 53 years. I'd like to point that out.
Right.
So it didn't, like, it seemed like a big deal in 1923. There are a lot of jobs that you couldn't have, a lot of places of education you couldn't have. Last week, we moved Martha Hughes Cannon, the statue, into the U.S. Capitol, and she was a suffragist in the 1870s and 80s and 90s, and all the way up until the 19th Amendment was ratified. And she became a doctor, graduated, one of 2 women from the University of Michigan Medical School. And she was actually called on a mission by her church to go and get an education there. And she was not allowed to sit with any of the men. They had to sit in the back, separate from all of the men. There were so many rules associated with them going to school. And so you get why this would be a thing in 1923. But in today's world, you already have like the Lilly Ledbetter equal pay bills. Like it's against the law to discriminate on the basis of sex. Like that's enshrined in federal code. So what exactly is Senator Gillibrand trying to accomplish here?
Well, that's what I can't decide. So again, earlier I said, does it feel like it's virtue signaling, right? The Electoral College one you brought up from Durbin, is that virtue signaling? Or does Gillibrand actually think there is an issue here? My question is, if someone were to say that women were equal, what is the difference? So I think one of the feisty things that came out in this last election, right, was Kamala Harris made the comment that there's no law in statute requiring men to do something with their bodies. And all the men of my acquaintance were like, except, I don't know, the draft.
Yeah.
Like we all have to do that. So a little bit, if we had the ERA, then I think, my question kind of goes to, now could you draft women? And the 14th Amendment protections that we got from Korematsu, which is a case that makes race is always a problem, gender is a secondary of intermediate scrutiny. Would it make then gender like race? Does that make sense?
Yeah, put it up at the top of the list.
And so I guess I could see some, consequences and political ramifications that may or may not be good, right? There are probably pros and cons, but I'm not sure. Again, if I thought this was a big deal and I were a Democrat and I had the trifecta myself in 2021, why is that not the time to pursue it?
And I know that Republicans have always been worried, and this goes back to the 60s and 70s when abortion was such a huge issue. On the conservative-leaning side, the Republican side, they were scared that this amendment would just be used so they couldn't curb or curtail abortions at all, that it would be seen, no, they have equal rights, and so you're not allowed to make any law that it would affect my health.
Right, but isn't then, so just saying that, then the right time to have pushed this would have been 2022. Right?
I agree.
So Roe v. Wade should have enshrined that. Now that it doesn't, that would be the moment for the ERA. Does that, right?
Yeah.
So a little bit, I can't understand the timing on this, and I am not persuaded that women need an equal rights amendment enshrined in the Constitution to make them equal.
I also don't understand why Biden himself didn't take this up. Like, this is something that Biden would have totally done.
Oh, that's a really good question.
And so I'm like,
yeah.
I get this is on Senator Gillibrand, she's doing the pushing on this, but at the same time, the President of the United States of America is Joe Biden, and you had Kamala Harris, one of the most progressive people ever to run for office, should have been able to push this. If you're a woman running for president, you can actually point to it and say, I and President Joe Biden ratified the Equal Rights Amendment, and they chose not to do so. I just want to finish by also saying that Kamala Harris once said that we didn't even have a basketball draft for college basketball. We didn't have brackets until just last year, which was obviously false. We've been doing it since the 80s. So kind of funny. Thank you so much for listening to Inside Sources. Join Leah Murray and Greg Skordas tomorrow from 1 to 3. Next up, afternoon news. Have a great day.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. It's 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Shaleo, sitting in today for Jeff Kaplan. It's partly cloudy downtown and 50 degrees. KSL's top story. The first steps have been taken to begin development of the Point. Construction began today on the expansion of Porter Rockwell Boulevard, along with plans for new housing and commercial development where the prison once stood. We have team coverage on the groundbreaking ceremony and what comes after. We begin with KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera.
State leaders and stakeholders in the Point project gathered today at the site of the former prison in Draper, just west of I-15. Michael Amray, executive director of the Point, announced that the first phase, spanning 100 acres, is now underway, with construction kicking off immediately.
Be another main connector from north to south that's greatly needed right now.
When asked about the project's impact on local residents,
we're also building a section of River to Range Park as well. So there'll be a lot of outdoor opportunities in that park, and there'll be bike paths and walking paths.
Ambre explained that the initial phase will focus on high-density apartment buildings with additional housing options slated for the second phase, which is part of a 30-year development plan. Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
UDOT says they know the area around the point is growing, and they have a number of projects that'll hopefully ease congestion in the area in the coming years. KSL News Radio's Adam Small continues our team coverage.
Everything that we're trying to do is we're trying to create those alternatives to I-15.
UDOT Region 2 Communications Manager Kyler Sharp tells me the focus for this area is going to be Mountain View and Bangerter, both of which are already undergoing major projects to make them more free-flowing. But he says there's also a plan even further down the road to construct a new 2- or 3-lane freeway in the middle of the current lanes of Mountain View and making the current lanes frontage roads.
Sharp says construction on the new freeway likely won't start until at least 2027. A pileup that resulted in a car fire this morning on I-15 in Lehigh was apparently caused by a wrong-way driver. Police tell us she sideswiped a vehicle in the northbound lanes, then made a U-turn to go southbound, hit another 2 cars, and then caught fire. A semi-driver swerved to avoid the wrong-way car and hit another vehicle in the process. The driver, who set off the chain of events, was in the car that caught fire but suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Our top national story: the suspect accused of gunning down United Healthcare's chief executive now faces a terrorism charge
for the brazen, targeted, and premeditated shooting of Brian Thompson, who, as you know, was the CEO of United Healthcare.
Manhattan's District Attorney Alvin Bragg announced the murder charges today. Prosecutors say Mangione was the masked gunman who fatally shot Brian Thompson at close range in the heart in Midtown Manhattan earlier this month. Mangione is expected to waive extradition from Pennsylvania during a hearing later this week. Investigators in Wisconsin are trying to determine a motive in a school shooting that left a teacher and a student dead and 2 other children with life-threatening injuries. The Madison, Wisconsin police chief says it appears to be a combination of factors. He's urging anyone who knew the 15-year-old shooter's feelings to reach out. We are learning more about the scope of a data breach at one of the state's largest school districts. Granite School District says about 450,000 student records were accessed during the recent data leak. Most of the information accessed was just names and addresses.
And most of those, it's just simple name, last known address on their record, date of birth, and that's it. But there is a small number where transcripts used to require a Social Security number. That Social Security number may have also been breached.
District Superintendent Ben Horsley tells David Dujanovic about 15% of former and current students' Social Security numbers were also stolen in that breach. Iron County School District is jumping on board with a 24/7 tutoring service for its students.
The district will launch Varsity Tutors for Schools in the new year. The computer platform offers interactive study tools, collaborative workspaces, and tutoring resources. Students will be able to do prep classes for the ACT and SAT tests, as well as daily help with assignments. The program was offered to all school districts in the state. The Iron County School District will use it for free initially and evaluate its effectiveness before deciding whether to continue. Tammy Kikuchi, KSL News Radio.
Taylorsville High School is trying to raise $500,000 to renovate its auditorium. The high school was built in 1981, and over the years, the seats have gotten quite worn.
$500,000, well, the chairs themselves are going to cost $400,000. So we thought maybe that extra $100,000 we could, maybe get a couple of rows of lights.
Leah Tarrant has been teaching choirs at Taylorsville High for 27 years and is only the second choir director in the school's history. She says they also need 16 to 24 new microphones. 4 more projects around the Great Salt Lake are getting funding to strengthen the lake's water quality and ecosystem. KSL.com reports a couple of state-run agencies are giving out more than $5 million towards these projects. KSL News Time, 3:05. Ricky Meese, give us a look at traffic.
Well, we do have traffic being forced off the roadway due to emergency road repair work. Some potholes made the road a bit nasty in Weber County. This is westbound I-84 as you're approaching the I-15 junction in Riverdale. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Coming up on Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, Jeff's unique take on the bubble pirate. Jeff Kaplan's Minute of News is next.
And now a Minute of Kindness brought to you by One Kind Act a Day. As part of a challenge from Utah County to perform one kind act a day, a daily walker committed to picking up at least one piece of trash on every single walk. Some days it's pretty easy. Others it's a little bit of a challenge, but the result is always the same. A feeling of accomplishment and pride in helping the environment and the community. There's no need for recognition, just the satisfaction of knowing a difference is being made. Recently, that very walker encouraged their grandkids to follow suit, setting an example for their friends and their neighbors, showing how small acts of kindness can ripple through the community, and they do make a difference for everyone. Find out more about how you can be involved online at thepowerofkind.org. That's thepowerofkind.